Hi, hello. Welcome to my review of this relatively new movie, A Man Called Otto. It's a movie that had its release in December of 2022, but basically it's a 2023 movie because the theatrical release was this year and also in Germany it came out in like February, so it's basically a new movie. Now it's on Netflix and I finally got a chance to watch it. It's a movie directed by Mark Foster, starring Tom Hanks in the main role, called Otto, and it's based on a movie that came out in 2015 in Sweden that's called A Man Called Ov, and that is based on a 2012 novel, I think. So this is not really a new story, but I guess it's a remake that has a more modern touch to it because it has, for example, a character who is transgender, which is something that I don't think was such a big topic in 2012. And there's also a lot of things that have to do with social media in this movie. So that's what I think this movie is doing new. I haven't seen the original. I kind of want to see it. So what is this movie actually about? It's about this grumpy and bitter and petty old man who's very unlikable, also very sad because he wants to commit suicide after something that happened that is revealed in the movie that I won't spoil, obviously. But yeah, that's basically the start of this movie. He wants to commit suicide, but then he has new neighbors all of a sudden, and those neighbors kind of change his life in a very massive way. I was kind of excited for this movie, not really because of anything that is going on around the movie. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Foster. He made two movies I've seen, World War Z and A Quantum of Solace, which were both just not very good. And then he also made two movies that I kind of want to see, but that I have not seen yet, and those are Stay and Christopher Robin. But after two very bad action movies, I kind of want to see what else he can do with a straight up drama or drama comedy. But the one thing that I was excited about the most is basically Tom Hanks, because he's the star of the movie and he is a very good actor, I would say. He is very good at playing grumpy old guys, definitely, and he's slowly getting into this type of role more and more because Tom Hanks is also not the youngest guy anymore. So I must say that Tom Hanks is definitely doing the most consistent job in this whole movie because he's the only person who I never really have a problem with his acting. And basically he's the heart of the movie. Every time there is something that I don't really like, which there is a lot of actually, I always feel completely invested into the movie again when it's just about him. So everything that is just about him and that is carried by his performance and by his backstory in the movie is just amazing, and I really felt for him. I actually cried a few times in this film, but still a lot of things about this movie annoyed me, which is kind of annoying, like I said. So most of my complaints have to do with the tone of this movie in a way. I don't have anything against the tone itself. This is a dramedy, which means it's very dramatic and also tragic in some ways, but it's also like very cheesy in a way and has a lot of light-hearted scenes and light-hearted characters as well, which is also not really a bad thing. But it feels to me like this very light-hearted and cheesy tone is not really benefiting the movie because it kind of leads to a lot of dialogues being very direct and very on the nose, and like people don't really talk like that. It's awkward in a way. And also a lot of the side characters have this very fake positive attitude to them. Like, it's very overly happy in a way, and again it's trying to hit this very cheesy tone because it's also one reason why he's so annoyed with everybody around him, because he's not happy and everybody else is. So I get why they did it, but to be honest, to me it just didn't feel very fitting. It felt like very over the top and not really fitting for the tone of this movie. Like, I kind of would have wanted this movie to be a little bit more grounded in its tone, even though I have to say that oftentimes when the movie came back from this very overly happy tone to a very sad scene with Tom Hanks again, then it really worked again. It's not like the transitions didn't work, it's just that the scenes themselves didn't work at all. There's also a few problems I have with the editing. It's not really too annoying, but it definitely is noticeable. A few times scenes just feel awkward because there's way too many shots for a very simple scene, and because they constantly switch between them, it just feels very awkward and very choppy, and I don't really know what's going on sometimes. Also, the shots themselves are sometimes just ugly in a way, and there's also some unnecessary CGI. If you have to animate a cat, I really don't see why that is necessary. You can train a cat very well. When I look at a movie like Pet Sematary, there's so much great stuff with real animals, and if they can do that, why can't they just bring a cat to jump in a box, for example? You could have just made the shot a little bit more simple, which would have benefited a lot for the realism of the film. And there's also some scenes that are just straight up like bad. Mostly everything that has to do with social media in this film. There's a scene that I won't spoil, but it takes place on a train station. It's a very cheesy scene again, and it's again very direct. Like, you get the point very well what they are trying to say with a scene like this and what they are trying to comment on. But this whole scene just felt like a Dhar Mann episode. They made it so unrealistic and direct that it didn't work anymore. And again, there's also a complete side plot with the social media manager or whatever, and everything about that. It didn't fit at all. That just seemed very fake, even though this movie is just a very honest and realistic drama about a very sad old man. But the movie still has its heart on the right place. I do have to say that everything that bothered me about the movie didn't bother me enough to make the movie unenjoyable. Otto's definitely a very relatable character. I do have a soft spot for old people in movies, and movies that try to empathize with aging people a lot. Movies like Amour or The Father, and that's definitely the best part about this film. It's just everything around could have been a little bit more honest. And that's why I'm giving this movie like a 6 out of 10. So thank you for watching, and I guess see you next time.